A meeting of the Southfield Board of Education in the public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a community meeting. There's an opportunity for public participation during the meeting, and comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. The board will listen to comments but may not respond to during the meeting. If you're physically present and wish to address the board at the appropriate time, please submit a comment card. Roll call. Talisha Rice, Board Trustee.
Ashanti Bland, Board Vice President.
Yvette Ware Duvall, Board Secretary.
Amani Johnson, Board Treasurer.
Daryl B. Joyce, Trustee.
Jarrell Hicks, Board Trustee.
Dr. Jennifer Green, Superintendent, and volunteering to take minutes for us this evening is Ms. Jolene Davis, who's our Chief of Talent Management. We also have technical support from M1 Studios.
Thank you. Trustee Johnson, can you stand and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If it would behoove the board, if we could move up special recognition for Randy Scott. It's on our agenda, but if we can move it up.
No opposition? Thank you. Trustees, it is a great honor that I come before you this evening and recognize our very own Mr. Randy Scott. Southfield Public Schools is so fortunate to have someone at the helm leading our students with their musical talents. This young man not only has multiple awards, but with his most recent CD or release, I don't even know what they're called anymore because they're not really CDs. What are they called, Randy? Albums, okay, but they're not really albums because I think of albums as albums. Nevertheless, I remember when he called me and he said his first single went to #1 on the Billboard chart, and we were ecstatic and thankful and just honored, and he's so humble. And then a couple weeks after that, I got another call, and he's like, "Doc, you are not going to believe this. I have another one that went to #1. And I don't know of anyone personally that's had more than one go to #1 off of an album. Well, lo and behold, our last conversation, Randy Scott, I thought he was going to pass out. He said, "Doc, I have a third single that is now at #1. So please congratulate our very own Mr. Randy Scott. Thank you for making a world of difference. Presented to Randy Scott, Southfield Public Schools. Our students are fortunate as are we. Thank you. And today's his birthday. I see Mr. Johnson with his camera. Did you get the photo?
Where the ball is.
Actually, usually all of the board comes out, stands up front, and takes a picture with the recipient. So if you could kindly just make your way around. And while you're doing that, from the Green family to each of the trustees, we are going to be purchasing a copy of your album for each and every one of the trustees in recognition of your year.
Thank you so much.
I don't know if you want to say a few words, but let's get the photo. 1, 2, 3. Got it? This is our first time back in person. You can make some comments.
I am so incredibly grateful. Thank you guys so much. It is truly an honor and a blessing. And I was just telling Pam English before the meeting started, it's nothing but God. It is nothing but God. I can't take any credit because I pray every day, and I pray not only to be a light of Christ, but to also be a blessing to each of the students that I teach, and just to have you guys recognize me is just an honor and a blessing. So thank you so much.
And for those that are not aware in our audience, Mr. Scott created a class this past year. Was it this past year? Pandemic is a little blur to me. And that class affords our sixth graders an opportunity to write their own music, record their own music, go through the contractual process, figure out the math behind it. It's all inclusive. And then at the spring concert, they actually sell their real CDs, because they have the old school CDs. I guess I didn't know CDs were old school, but they sell them, and our students are able to profit from the sales of their CDs. So thank you for making education applicable to the real world and teaching our children what they will be doing when they leave here. Thank you again.
I have a personal story, Mr. Scott, before you go. My son had the esteemed honor of having you as a band instructor. I recall trying to push on him a set of drums that I had bought at Christmas time, and you brought me in and you said, "No, Miss Rice, he has an interest in the saxophone. That's where he's excelling at, and that's where he should be." And he did phenomenal there. So I thank you on behalf of me, my son, and then all the students of Southfield Public Schools.
Thank you. Go enjoy your birthday. We'll see you.
All right. Board matters. One of our first board matters is the Government Relations Committee, and we're looking to appoint one of our trustees to typically attend the meetings on the first Wednesday of each month from 6:30 to 8 p.m. and bring that information back to the board. I will offer at this time if there's any board trustees that may have any interest. Okay. Trustee Johnson? Okay. We will appoint Trustee Johnson for the Government Relations Committee, and we'll get the content information filled out. Okay, we'll move to our next board matter. It's our ad hoc committees. We have an operational procedure ad hoc committee for a few board trustees, as well as a ad hoc committee for Southfield Public School Foundation, with appointments for a few board trustees as well. And our third board matter, we have a report of the Southfield Public School Vision and Mission Statement. I will share that the board participated in a board retreat over this past weekend. We had some phenomenal workshops. We had MASB to come in to also provide a workshop for us to give us information regarding strategic planning. In those workshop sessions, these walls were filled with flip charts and just a wealth of information, the board engaging in rich dialogue, brainstorming ideas, taking a look at information from our stakeholder mission and vision survey that was sent out to help us with deriving what we have come to for our Southfield Public School vision. I will pause there for any other board members who might want to share information from either our board retreat or our vision and mission statement.
Through the chair?
Yep.
I would just like the community to know that I think you would be pleased with the work that was done over the last weekend during our board retreat. I think we have some very positive vision statements coming out of it. I think we'll have some very realistic and advantageous goals coming forth for Southfield Public School District. So hopefully you, the community, the students will engage in looking at them, reading them, and thinking about how you can impact helping us reach our vision and our goals for the upcoming years. And that's all I have.
Do you want to read the vision statement?
Yep. Okay. Whereas Southfield Board of Education adopts the mission and vision for the district, and whereas now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education is committed to achieving the vision. Southfield Public Schools will position students for success by developing well-rounded citizens, by revolutionizing educational opportunities, and by equipping scholars to maximize their full potential. Okay. Any other board matters? Report to the superintendent.
Do we have? So the Kennedy Davis is having a hard time getting here to present, but we do have the report of them on that time.
Okay. We'll move to the report of the student board representatives. Presenting the report for Damon Payne University High School Academy, Mr. James Jackson.
Good evening, members of the board, and good evening, everyone. I am reading the report on behalf of student representative to the board, Damon A. Payne. She could not be here tonight because she is currently in a dual enrollment program, and she has class tonight with the University of Michigan. So,
I'm sorry, repeat that?
I'm sorry.
I asked him to scratch that part, but okay.
So I think if there's a justifiable reason to be absent this evening, I think that's it. But here's her report for this evening. Following former Dean Marcia Williams' exit, the U went on its winter recess from December 17th to January 3rd. During this time, as the nation experienced much movement, with everyone going on break, traveling for the holidays, and etc., combined with the lowering of temperatures, COVID-19 cases in Michigan increased. With an increase in cases, along with the newly presented dangers of the Omicron variant, Southfield Public Schools decided it would be best for students to undergo remote learning as a precaution against the various illnesses that students and staff contracted over the break. This virtual learning has lasted 2 weeks, and the continuation is still up in the air as we proceed going forward. I've had the chance to talk to both the staff and the student body, and while the staff does appreciate in-person learning, some staff members have reported the convenience that virtual learning gives and the peace of mind it provides with health concerns. As far as students go, since the beginning of the school year, there have been concerns about bringing back hundreds of students amidst the pandemic, especially with more reports of students contracting COVID as it gets colder. Some of my peers have been wishing to go back fully remote, as it will provide them with that aforementioned peace of mind and safety from the virus itself. Most of the students agree that we should extend virtual learning until February, or for what little remains of the first semester, and then return the second semester as a way to start fresh and give everyone a chance to properly self-quarantine before school. It is also in popular opinion to keep virtual Fridays, as having that extra day to clean the school is essential now more than ever as we move forward.
Oh, I love my children.
And that's her report.
All right. Well, now you see why she's dual enrolled.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Okay, now we'll have reporter superintendent.
Thank you. This evening, I would be remiss if we did not start out the evening recognizing our 7 board trustees for their time, effort, commitment, dedication to our school district, to each and every one of us, and to all of our students. Although we don't always agree, sometimes we have to agree to disagree, but we all have one thing in common, and that is us wanting what's best for our children. So with that being said, January is School Board Recognition Month, and in front of each of you, we brought them out last minute because we didn't want you to open them in advance. You have a certificate from the school district and the Michigan Association of School Boards. You also have an inscribed clock, which will keep you on time for future meetings, and an inscribed pen, which will afford you an opportunity to take notes in the absence of technology. So thank you on behalf of the Southfield Public Schools for each and every one of you. So if you could all just stand and recognize our trustees.
I don't see that.
The second item was that of Mr. Randy Scott, who has departed the meeting for this evening. Moving forward, we will go to the legislative update. Two important things that I wish to lift. Of course, there are many things happening both at our local capital and our state capital, but one that has come across my desk most recently is that of House Bill 4294, signed by the governor, which affords school districts an opportunity to have individuals ages 18 and up with a high school diploma in front of children. And I've been asked by not only the media, but several of our parents for our opinion. So I would like to take this moment to express the district's opinion on this matter. To redeploy existing human capital within a school district is easier said than done. At a minimum, each and every person placed before our students should have orientation and/or training on the mechanics of youth development, instructional delivery, classroom management, and safety protocols. Furthermore, most individuals within a school district are members of professional associations covered by legally binding collective bargaining agreements, which cannot be summarily dismissed. Therefore, it is not our intention to do anything in violation of a collective bargaining agreement and/or jeopardize the safety and well-being of our students. So I wanted our community to be aware of that position. Secondly, late this afternoon, early evening, Ms. Jolene Davis informed me that the Supreme Court did rule to put a stay on the vaccine mandate that was presented to us by President Biden. However, I did want to lift to the board, and if you would provide me with some feedback, because while that is in a state of abeyance at this time, it does not negate the district from moving forward with a vaccine mandate and/or protocol. It doesn't have to be adopted as a board policy. It could be put in place as an administrative guideline, whereby the employees would either have to produce evidence of being fully vaccinated or submit to weekly testing. Given what our student stated in her report, and given what we've seen in terms of the data, I am asking what is the pleasure of the board as it pertains to this, because now that it's tied up in court, it could be months before we receive any resolution to this matter.
I think we should move forward with our vaccine mandate.
Any other?
I agree.
Okay.
No opposition.
If there's no opposition, then I will work with the talent management team, and we will get correspondence out to our staff and to our internal community by the close of business tomorrow.
Just one point of clarity, Dr. Green, regarding the testing every week. Is that something that our staff will be required to provide? Do they bring that information into you, or do you have to look at how you will further?
Excellent lift. We'll be working through that process. You may recall that we had a contract with a company to come out and provide those services. Several things happened with that. One, our community at that time did not take full advantage of the opportunity, and of course they are a business, therefore they had to consider their return on investment. Two, they were doing some things that were not in compliance with our agreement and contract, therefore we had to part ways. That being said, this past week we did offer testing here in the boardroom with our district level nurses for all of our staff. The tests are limited right now. We get them from the state of Michigan, and while we usually have a 5 to 7 day turnaround time, we are 2 weeks in and have not gotten the last batch that we ordered. I'm looking back at Ms. Venable and she's shaking her head. However, we are in conversation with St. Jude to see if we can bring them into our district to resume the testing, not only for our staff, but for our students as well. So that being said, stay tuned. We want to make it as convenient as possible. However, I must note that the law does not state that the district must provide the test. It says that one must test and present that information. So we're trying to make it as convenient as possible, and definitely want to make sure that we have a reputable company to ensure that it's accurate.
Understood.
So, through the chair. So, not saying that I'm against the mandate of having a vaccine, but I think we should have a recommendation from the superintendent's office on how that will look for the employee. Not saying that we're going to modify it, but just to make sure that we're aligned and aware of when it's going to occur, and if not, then what will happen. Saying that we're going to mandate it just kind of leaves it kind of open. So if we could just have some more detail around what that's going to look like, if you have anything that you're...
I do. I actually have two opinions from our external legal counsel on what that specific guideline would entail. So I will make sure that I forward that to each of you later this evening, and then also prior to us getting the communique out to our employees as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item, and it's definitely something that is on all of our hearts and minds, it is the ever-changing guidance from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services and that of the Oakland County Health Department regarding COVID-19 and K-12 settings. When the CDC initially made the recommendation to lessen the number of days relative to isolation and or quarantine, it did not impact K-12 settings or early childhood centers. That said, most recently, earlier this week, actually, Tuesday, I met with the Oakland County Health Department, and they have since adopted the new guidance whereby students and or staff are only required to isolate or quarantine for 5 days and are to wear a tightly fitted KN95 or N95 mask around their face for the other 5 days. Given that information and knowing that the majority of the individuals having submitted documentation to the district are now expected to return to the classroom, it is with a high degree of certainty that I share with you we will probably be back in our buildings, in our classrooms on Tuesday, January 18th, 2022, with MLK Day being on the 17th, which is Monday. Then we would return on Tuesday. As Ms. Payne mentioned in her report, we were doing remote Fridays. Those continue through the first Friday in February, and I will meet with the entire administrative team to determine if we wish to move that beyond the 4th of February. Any questions regarding the new guidance? And we did put that in the packet for our entire community to see. We will most definitely need a power hour because I know that our families are going to have a lot of questions, so we will get that scheduled as well.
Through the chair, do we have the difference between isolation and quarantine perhaps highlighted on our district webpage? I know it's in our packets, but I know it's one of those frequently asked questions. I know I've gotten a lot of questions regarding it, so I was just wondering, is there a quick way for our families to identify the difference?
Yes, we will put the updated FAQs on our website, and then we will also make sure that we do something that's color-coded, an if-then flowchart. If you experience this, then do that. I think that has been most helpful for our families. I do want to note that the close contact tracing, as we have known for the past 2 years, is no longer in place. That is the most significant change having been made from the Oakland County Health Department. The building level administrators, the classroom teachers, the bus drivers, cafeteria workers, etc., will no longer contact trace who the positive case was near throughout the school day. What will happen is a generic letter will go home to that classroom stating that someone tested positive, and that's pretty much all it will state. Then it will go on to share that if you and or your child experience these symptoms, please do this or contact this individual. All of this information that I'm sharing is on the Oakland County Health Department website. It is also on the Michigan Department of Health and Human Service website. It will be on the Southfield Public Schools website, and we will have a power hour for those families that still have questions. That said, with the KN95 mask and N95 mask, It's recommended, it's not a requirement. It's only a requirement if you're in the healthcare industry. We wanted our staff to feel safe and secure coming back. Therefore, we have secured enough N95 masks for all of our staff members, and it will be waiting for them upon their return on Tuesday. They do not last forever, so we will not have them coming in perpetuity, but we will continue to work with our partners. As the guidance changes, the variants change, we want to make sure that we're doing our part to keep everyone safe. I had a conversation earlier today with our partner, Ascension Hospital. They are scheduled now to come out and do the booster shots for our 12 and up group starting on February 1st. I also spoke with the Oakland County Health Department. They stated that their South Oakland Health Center on Greenfield Road is still doing vaccines, and they have a number of other locations listed on their website. So we will make sure that that information is also readily available to our community. That is all that I have at this time, Madam President. That keeps me quite busy with the pandemic.
Okay. Move to action items. Motion to open and approve Report 6036 Personnel Action Report.
Chair 06, so moved.
Support.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Board Secretary, call for the vote.
Trustee Bland?
Yes.
Trustee Hicks?
Yes.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Trustee Rice?
Yes.
Trustee Smith-Thomas is unavailable, and Trustee Ware-Duvall, myself, yes. Unanimous?
Vote is carried. Next action item. Motion to open and approve Report 6037, the Bussy New Primary Cable.
So moved.
Second?
Motion has been on the floor and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes. There's a sentence here that says, this property closed in 2010 under executive summary background. That property closed 2016.
Okay.
Not 2010.
We will make that note in the report. Madam President, if I may just provide a little background. This is a topic that was brought before the board several months ago. We just don't have it on record as someone taking action on it. This was around the time that we had a number of power outages. We met with DTE, and Ms. Venable did share in detail what was happening with that property. It states Old Bussy because it is the property, as mentioned, that closed on 12 Mile, and failure to do this repair will cause for further expenses down the line. So Ms. Venable and the administrative team wanted to get your thought on record as an official action item on which direction you prefer we go at this moment.
Any further discussion? Board Secretary, call for the vote.
Trustee Hicks?
Yes.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Bland?
Yes.
Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Trustee Rice?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Unanimous?
Vote carries. Okay, we will move to informational items. Report 6038, Reconstruction of Classroom Walls.
Thank you. This is in an effort to rebuild what was modified at Southfield A&T in the old house. If you remember, at one point we had different programming there. Classroom walls were taken down. The ones we do have up were not soundproof. We've had a number of things happen with that wing of the building, and don't quote me on which part is the oldest. It's my belief that if my recollection is correct, I'm going to look down at the alum at the end. Isn't that the oldest part of the building? So it has a lot of different challenges in that part of the building. This is our ask to have the walls reconstructed where they were taken down in the past to afford us more opportunity to spread out the children versus having them in the larger spaces where we're congregating more, thus given the possibility of the spread. This will also afford us an opportunity if we need to bring other programming there in the future, the Fire Academy, the credit recovery pieces, all of that. This will happen in that O wing. So that's what this request entails. Mr. Ingram has confirmed that there is money available and allowable in the sinking fund to handle this project, and it is below the threshold for the state of Michigan to go out for RFP.
Is this an urgent matter, Dr. Green?
Everything with construction is urgent at this time, only due in part to the labor shortage and the material and supply shortage. So if you would entertain moving it to action, that would be helpful for us to at least get the process started and hopefully get it completed sooner than later.
Okay. I will entertain a motion if we want to flip this from informational to an action item.
I move that we make report 6038 actionable, reconstruction of classroom walls inside Southfield A&T.
Second.
You've got motion open and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, I have a question. So with approving this report, the way it's written, it's almost implying a move of SRAC. If we look at the recommendation, it says that this effort is pretty much being done to support a move on January 19th.
I thought I changed that date. Well, the reports I have are due to the office before the previous Friday. So as you know, and it's important to note to the public that the board did have a vote of reconsideration at the board retreat. The program will not be moving on January 19th, which is next Wednesday. As it currently stands, the move is in consideration for the fall of 2022-2023 academic school year. So that would be September.
Okay, so I thought the only thing that the board did was reconsider the previous motion, but no determination was made on next steps until a report was going to be presented to the board.
Nope, there were two motions that evening. There was a motion to a vote of reconsideration, of which passed unanimously. Then I made a second recommendation, of which was opened as a motion, seconded, discussed, and approved unanimously to move the program in the fall of 2022, with me leading the work group and keeping the board apprised of all the changes along the way.
So okay. So if the board made that decision, I still have on the readiness that we need to have that before we give a green light that it's going to happen in next school year, because we don't know what that's going to look like.
Well, that's separate although that's part of the rationale for reconstructing the walls, we still have a lot of programmatic needs happening in the building, and given the long lead time required for construction projects, it would simply provide us with more space to utilize our current facility, regardless as to which group of students occupied it. That was the initial concept behind it, but this is right across the hall from where we just put a new health center. So this is affording us an opportunity to do some things differently. We also did some work over the break with the kitchen to become ADA compliant. You had approved that work 6 months ago. It took us 6 months to get the workers in to do that. So this is in preparation for all of the new programmatic changes that we anticipate will come with our new academies as well.
So I guess my only ask would be, I'm not against remediating those rooms. It's just the recommendation and the why is still a question mark. Because right now it's listing that students are going to start January 19th. So the report needs to be...
So I will amend the report, if it pleases the board, to strike that component from the actual ask.
Do we need to revise our motion to indicate that, it'll be amended, this thing will be amended?
Yes. I'm assuming I need to recall my first motion.
You can amend it.
I would like to amend the motion to move that we make report 6038 actionable, with the amendment that, is it in the...
Striking from the language.
Striking from the recommendation that this facilitates the relocation of Southfield Regional Academic Campus Program effective January 19th, 2022.
Same person, second.
Second.
The motion has been amended and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay. Board Secretary, call for the vote.
Trustee Johnson?
Yes.
Trustee Joyce?
Yes.
Trustee Rice?
Yes.
Trustee Bland?
Yes.
Trustee Hicks?
Yes.
Trustee Ware Duvall? Yes. Unanimous.
Okay, vote carries. The next informational item is the monthly financial report.
Actually, it's the creation of the deputy chief position.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Next informational item, report 6041, creation of deputy superintendent position. Dr. Green?
Thank you. This is not something that needs to be acted upon today. However, I do ask for consideration of the creation of deputy sup. We will get to you all of the financials. I did have an opportunity to meet with the board treasurer today, and we will provide all of the information as it pertains to this being a zero sum, given that we have eliminated several positions that we've not backfilled. This would afford more flexibility in the schedule of the Office of the Superintendent, particularly in the interest of us going out for capital improvement bond campaign, which will require a significant amount of time. The deputy superintendent, different from associate or assistant superintendents in the past, would be in charge of daily operations in the absence of the superintendent, as well as other tasks having been assigned by the Board of Education. As you know, the Office of the Superintendent is currently doing multiple jobs, but this will be a zero sum to the Board of Education as it pertains to the budget for this fiscal year. Something for future consideration.
Any discussion from the board?
Through the chair, the only discussion that I have has been consistent. I just hope that we would have resolved any outstanding bargaining agreement prior to bringing on another position to JWE. I just think that sends a bad message to the morale of the district for not resolving outstanding, but bringing on more in an administrative capacity.
Thank you for that lift, and as I shared, this position, although it is a new position, it would not be adding to the FTEs of JWE because several of the JWE positions have been dissolved. So it's actually a zero sum financially, but in terms of FTEs, it's a negative sum because it is less than the FTEs that we previously had. But I understand the perception that it may give.
I understand, and I agree with what you're saying, but what it looks like, the optics, especially when you're negotiating, and you know, if you ask for something and you're not receiving what you've asked for, but other positions can be filled, it could give a bad optic. So,
Message received.
I think my clarification and understanding is this isn't an incremental position, is what I heard.
Incremental in terms of?
Additional outside of the number, I'll say the number of slots that we have, like you mentioned, it's open and it's filling an open.
Right, so it's not filling a current vacancy because it is a change in position. It is not one that we currently have in the organizational chart. So it would be a new position. However, in terms of FTEs, which is the full-time equivalency of which we utilize for our budgeting practices, it would not be adding more than we already budgeted for in terms of full-time equivalencies, nor would it be adding more to the bottom line of the budget. I know that this past weekend at the board retreat, it came up on several occasions regarding us not having an executive assistant to the office of the superintendent and the board. Very important, thus why I and Ms. Jolene Davis are doing those duties and responsibilities. Even with the creation of this position, the way the labor market is right now, I can't guarantee that we would be able to fill the position. I'm asking for the consideration of it in the event that we ratify all of the contracts and that we do have qualified candidates, because it's not satisfactory that we have a warm body in position. We want the right person to help us navigate the goals and objectives having been set forth by the Board of Education.
Duly noted. Okay. We will move to our next information item, monthly financial report.
The financials, 6C and 6D, were both emailed to the board. They were lengthy reports. You have them all and have had them. If there are any questions, we have both our Chief Financial Officer as well as our Director of Fiscal Services here this evening who will gladly answer any questions that you may have.
Any inquiry? Okay.
Hearing none?
Hearing none. Bill disbursement report.
Same, Madam President, we forwarded all of that backup documentation to you as well.
Hearing no inquiry. We'll move on to putting it in the order. Okay. There isn't any?
I have one, but I'll defer mine to the final for the good of the order
Okay.
after the closed session.
Okay. We will move to public participation. If you wish to address the board regarding the school-related issue that has not been resolved by school administration, please submit a comment card immediately. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. As a matter of fairness, speakers with complaints against individuals are asked not to mention any persons by name. Complaints concerning employees pursuant to board policy 9130 should be brought to the attention of the school principals or other administrators before coming to the Board of Education. Your cooperation is appreciated. We have, is it Moshe Goldberg?
Good evening. Not much to say, just there's something magical about being involved in education and especially being here in person. And you can't see I'm smiling, but I am. But, there was, before COVID came, started a conversation regarding the Brace property. I represent a group of many. We made Southfield our home, a couple hundred parents of we're not a powerful group. It's no special interest, no corporations, just hard taxpayer base. And we're looking for a school for postgraduate school location, and we were talking about the Brace Letterly property. As everyone knows, we were busy with so many different COVID-related items and things. It's unbelievable what the board does, and thank you to everyone, and thank you, Dr. Green. I just wanted to explain that, we're just simply trying to exist here and get we picked that location because it seemed like a neglected location. It seemed like a location that didn't seem to add to the school board. And I looked around and figured that would be the most useful for the community. We just wanted to indulge that everyone could understand where we're coming from and try to work together. And I was wondering if there's anything on the bucket list. Maybe the school has a nonprofit. Maybe you have an item on the bucket list that you would like that we could try to help provide the school, because we're definitely part of the community. We're thankful to the school board that we could only live here due to the education of the school board, although we attend a private school. But we're very thankful, and every day I just wanted to know if we could work together if we could get something done. Simple, from the heart. That's it. Not much to say. Thank you so much for the consideration, and much success.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Goldberg.
thank you, sir.
Not to respond, but you can't see me smiling through this mask either. Let me ask, can someone get?
Yes, we will respond.
Okay. Next on I don't see any other comment cards, so we'll move to closed session. Before we do so, let me read the future meetings. Future meeting Tuesday, January 18, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. we have a special meeting. And Tuesday, February 8th, 2022 at 7 p.m. we have our next regular board meeting. And now for closed session, can I ask for a motion?
Board President.
We did before to get in order before, but Dr. Green has something?
I did. I do. My apologies. I did a little research when you were in closed session. Two things surfaced. One, I did forward everyone the information from the attorney on the vaccine mandate or test. So you have two options there. And the second item is that of the ask of for the deputy superintendent. That is not a new position. I was reminded by some more seasoned individuals that our current mayor was the former deputy sup. So it's not the creation of a new position, therefore will not require board approval.
Oh,
Because it's not a new position.
okay. Okay.
It's only when you create a new position would you need approval for the creation of the position.
Having the contract ratified before you actually place. It's just perception, even though you have the ability to do that.
No, I understand, and I received that. I just wanted to share that it would not be coming back again in complete transparency because I was reminded that it was a position that had already existed within the district. So that's all I was doing.
Noted.
I received your feedback.
Thank you, Dr. Green. Okay. If there's nothing else, we will go ahead and adjourn at 8:55 p.m.
Good night, everyone.
Good evening.